at one point maybe really early, at another point early in the second round, and then here it comes in the fifth round finally. Shedeur Sanders, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, set a Colorado record with 37 touchdown passes. Helped revitalize that Colorado program along with Travis Hunter. And in this draft process, he's been most unusual. Started at Jackson State playing for Deion Sanders at the FCS level, then transferred up.
The thing about Colorado, he didn't have an offensive line in 2023, and then this past year, really both years, not much of a running game at all. Okay, guys like Marion Hampton and Ashton Jeanty had more rushing yards in a game and a half than their top rushers did all year. But you look at the accurate, precise passing. One thing to be accurate, another to be precise. Shedeur Sanders is. When he's getting pressured, he has that feel, and he will take a little off, and he will layer throws. A lot of college quarterbacks don't do that. He already gets that element of playing quarterback, which you will have to be in the NFL. The deep ball accuracy, he showed it at the Combine, he showed it at Colorado, he showed it at Jackson State. The ability to slip and slide. Yeah, he's not going to run a 4.6, but within the pocket, just give the kid a fighting chance. Colorado rarely did. When he had an opportunity, you saw this strike there to Will Shepherd. Again, there were games like Oregon where he had no shot. Here he avoided the initial pass rusher. He rolled right, he made a throw. This fact he's just out there just talking, he's not athletic, it's a bunch of BS. It's not true. This kid can avoid, he can move, and he can make throws against his body like this. Key play against Baylor in that football game, Lou. I don't get it. I know you don't, but here we are in the fifth round. Cleveland Browns get a guy who should have been, in my opinion, a first-round pick, a high first-round pick. And you look at the sliders, right? The guys that have slid. The NFL gets it. They know everything. No, they don't, because the guys that have slid have done really well. Geno got into the second round. He's doing pretty well, right? Jimmy Clausen, Brady Quinn didn't, but then there's Aaron Rodgers. Chad Pennington went 18. Brett Favre, second round. Boomer Esiason, second round. Dan Marino, late first round, and now you have a situation with Shedeur dropping to the fifth round. Tom Brady, everybody said, okay, he was what, a sixth round pick. When Tom Brady was drafted, there was a quarterback that went 18th. That was Chad Pennington. A quarterback went in the third round. That was Giovanni Parmazzi from Hopkins. When Tom Brady got there, what did he tell Robert Kraft? They told him, hey, you're our sixth round pick. He said, yeah, you're the best decision your organization ever made than me, right? So we're talking about, are you confident, cocky, are you arrogant, or are you charismatic? There's that fine line there. I think there's a lot of perspective and isn't reality in regards to Shedeur and Deion. Deion's not going to interfere. Deion's not going to be calling the coach. Deion's not going to be commenting about Shedeur while he's at Colorado. Lou, I think there's a lot of just fake news out there surrounding the Sanders family and Shedeur and Deion.
Yeah, look, if you get out of your feelings, and I'm saying people who have feelings about Shedeur Sanders and just subjectively evaluate him as a quarterback, it's hard not to like what he can do. A lot of mental horsepower. Talk to Pat Shermer out there in Boulder, his offensive coordinator, full field reads, the ability to really decipher pre-snap and then adjust post-snap, put the ball where it needs to be put. He's got that. This nonsense about the fact that he's not a good athlete, he's just an average athlete, this is just one play where he is able to buy time. He doesn't have a strong arm. That's nonsense too. He can put the ball wherever it needs to be put at the NFL level, all three levels, across the field, drive it in the tight windows. He's got a lot going for him from a physical skills perspective and how he plays the quarterback position. This whole situation transcended how he plays the position and really became about, do you like him as a person or not? And that's why he's here in the fifth round, getting drafted to the same team after Dylan Gabriel.
They've started 40 quarterbacks, more than anybody in the NFL, I think, since 1999 or so. And look, he slid for sure. Maybe there are lessons he needed to learn from this, and perhaps he has. But now we say this every year. It matters more about what you do after your pick than it does where you're picked. So now the opportunity is for Shedeur Sanders to win the job. He can win the job.
Absolutely.
Now, there are other places he could have gone this late when he was sliding, and maybe he could not have. That might not have been the right position for him. But I think there are lessons to be learned on both sides. I mean, clearly something happened that made NFL teams not want to do it. So now, What can he take from that? He can take his opportunity now, become a starter early in his career, which is probably closer to something that they had envisioned all along. They just didn't envision having to wait until the 5th round for it to start.
Absolutely, but when I was asked pre-draft, hey, what's the best fit for Shedeur Sanders, I said the Cleveland Browns. Now, I thought it was going to be a pick 2,
Sure.
or is it trade back into round 1? But he is an ideal fit for Kevin Stefanski's offense. They have some weapons in the passing game with Jerry Jeudy. They added Harold Fannin to go with David Njoku. They've drafted a couple running backs. He can live in that play-action offense. That's what he did best at Colorado. What are his elite traits? Accuracy and toughness. That translates anywhere. So the slide is a little bit ridiculous. I'm with you guys. I don't know exactly what caused it, but this is a good situation for him. Take a minute, be upset that you fell in the draft, but I think now you attack this opportunity and prove everyone wrong.
And now as we flip it onto the other side of this equation with the Cleveland Browns, and what were they motivated to do at this pick? 144th overall after previously drafting Dylan Gabriel at the end of the 3rd. Let's look at the opportunity cost right now for Cleveland. The 144th pick in the draft last year with Austin Booker from the Bears. He signed a 4-year, $4.4 million contract. As far as a quarterback is concerned, that's nothing in the NFL. So for them, they have an opportunity to try and develop a player who they were out there in Boulder. Lewis and I were there. They were taking an up-close and personal look at Shedeur Sanders, did plenty of homework on him. I don't think anybody would sit here and tell you the tape for Shedeur Sanders was anything close to a round 5 player. Good enough traits to work with. You have an opportunity for him to compete. And while I would say right now Joe Flacco is the most likely week 1 starter for the Cleveland Browns, it is not like Joe Flacco's standing should be considered cemented for the entirety of the season. It's open season right now in Cleveland, Lewis.
And you know what? And look, Andrew Berry, the general manager, he may be playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Because I'll tell you what, look at the quarterbacks that he has on this roster now. Between Joe Flacco, starting ability. Kenny Pickett has started in 1 game. Dylan Gabriel, there's people who would like Dylan Gabriel's skill set, myself included. Shedeur Sanders, you got 4 guys that maybe have starting caliber quarterbacks in the NFL. You think there aren't going to be some teams who need some quarterbacks? One of the best times to pick a quarterback, Andy Reid used to tell us this all the time in Philadelphia. The best time to pick a quarterback is when you don't need one. Yeah. They are stockpiled right now. Andrew Berry's going to be sitting back this summer as teams are scrambling around because every quarterback situation always ebbs and flows, and people are going to be going, hey, Andrew, and he's going to be going, talk to me. What do you need? I got 4 of them. Oh, that's right. And you know what? They will sort themselves out. Shedeur Sanders right now, just go to work. Just keep your mouth shut, go to work. And let the cream rise to the top. And Andrew Berry, you may have made one of the smartest moves in the draft right here.
What kind of growth can this force Shedeur Sanders into? Because remember when Deion Sanders went to Jackson State, Shedeur was a quarterback. He went to Colorado, had the team meetings out there. Our quarterback's coming. Now he has to go in and win the quarterback job. What can that do for him? Whether he does it this year, next year, whenever.
You know what? I think for Shedeur, his competitive character is going to be put on full display now. What exactly are you made of? Are you going to be someone now who, just like I said, just zips it and goes to work and really dives into the details and really taps into Kevin Stefanski and really allows him to help take your game to the next level? I would assume that's what he's going to do. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall with some of the conversations he has had with his father over the past 48 hours about what it's now going to take in order for you to reclaim the status that you thought you already had as far as how people valued you, where now people have already spoken. The NFL has spoken in terms of what value they were willing to put on you at this point in time. And whether that he's going to use that to really fuel the fire, to really go to work and really, like you're talking about, address every single aspect of his game and kind of reassess himself as well as far as how am I coming off to people? How are people perceiving me? Do I need to make some changes in that way too and get to where I ultimately believe I should get to, which is a franchise caliber starting quarterback on a winning team and playing meaningful football in the months of January and February.
Look, what he did at Colorado, you got to understand, this was a moribund program when Deion got there. He and Travis Hunter, they didn't have a lot. I know they didn't win championships, but, man, they won some. They became relevant. It was largely because of those 2 guys. And Shedeur had a terrific couple of seasons, particularly this most recent one, and now the opportunity in Cleveland. Adam Schefter, Peter Schrager with us now. Led the Browns. What are you guys hearing that led the Browns to go ahead and make this move on Shedeur?
Well, Reese, I think in the pre-draft buildup, a lot was made of how many times the Giants met with Shedeur Sanders, and how often they met with him. The Browns did their work too. They met with him at length at the Shrine game, East-West. Then at the Combine, they met with him. Then they had him in at the top 30. And at his pro day, they took him and Travis Hunter out to dinner. And let me tell you the people at that meeting. Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, Musgrave, Tommy Reese, Paul DePodesta, Jimmy Haslam, J.W. Johnson, the son-in-law of Jimmy Haslam. They all met with him and they felt comfortable. And at a certain point, which I believe Field Yates said at the table, at 144 in the draft, whether you need a quarterback or not, it is the most important position in all of football. They feel comfortable with him, Adam, and they are happy to have him in that quarterback.
And let me tell you about two relationships that I think were important here. Number one, Jimmy Haslam. Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders developed a relationship during this process with the Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam, and the Browns quarterback coach is Bill Musgrave. Bill Musgrave and Deion Sanders were teammates together on the San Francisco 49ers, and Deion Sanders considers Bill Musgrave to be one of his guys. And now the Cleveland Browns, who have had one of the messiest, ugliest quarterback situations in the league for years, are taking a whole group of quarterbacks and putting them together. They now have Deshaun Watson. They now have Kenny Pickett. They now have Joe Flacco. They now have Dylan Gabriel. They now have Shedeur Sanders. And the storylines are just beginning because all these quarterbacks are not going to be happy staying in Cleveland. And the Browns also have the Jaguars' first-round pick next year in a quarterback-rich draft, so they're going to have double ones armed to get even more quarterbacks. The Browns have gone from having a lack of quarterbacks to having a surplus of them, and the attention that's been on Shedeur Sanders the past few days is only just now beginning, Reese.
Well, the old adage is if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any. So now they've got a lot of them, and we're going to find out which one is the one. As you look at this, how would you assess Mel? We know what you think of him as a prospect. Now the opportunity in front of him and how quickly you expect those traits to be able to play, to be the guy, if in fact you think that can happen quickly.
Offensive line, that's critical for Shedeur. Said it when Tom Brady was taken. The offensive line's got to protect him. He's got to have that fortress in front of him, as Brady did, allowed him to have that success. You think about what he had at Colorado. He dealt with adversity. He dealt with a muddy pocket. He done it with everything NFL conditions lead you to have to deal with once you get to the pro level. Then you think about the character. I think this is the misperception. I think the fact of the matter is Deion was a great teammate. Deion practiced hard. They loved him in the NFL. They loved him with the Atlanta Braves in Major League Baseball. Shedeur, he will galvanize. He'll be that kind of guy. So again, the offensive line, if you're talking about the Cleveland Browns, that's the issue, guys. If they can protect him, obviously get the weapons, but up front is where they got to be strong. You allow him to do his job, and he will be a surgeon. He will pick you apart. I mean, you give Shedeur time. He sees the field. He's accurate to all levels, and he is a tremendous competitor, incredibly tough. So, again, durable, having all the hits he took, and never got hurt, okay? And he never running game. Not mention offensive line. He had no running game. So he was out there, and he led them to a winning year. He led them to an upset over TCU when he first got there, first game. Then the wheels came off. That Stanford game when the second half the lead was won with the half. Shedeur Sanders, to me, when you talk about the locker room and the players around him, they love him. Now, the perception from others outside, based on what there's the noise, maybe they didn't like what they heard. I don't know how it was handled. You get all the word about this, that, and you think, well, they're just trying to hurt Shedeur. Teams are still throwing it out there. You don't know what was true, what wasn't. How Deion's going to operate. Deion's going to stay out of it. He's not going to be calling or threatening any coaches or saying, or there'll be a threat that Deion could take over. Deion's not happy. Deion's not going to say anything. Deion's going to coach Colorado. So a lot of this stuff, I think, just made no sense to me, kind of the negativity you heard over the last couple months.
The perception, though, that you talked about, that's all until the draft gets going, because it became his reality. The fact is, the 16th player on my board, higher on yours, right around 25 on Matt's board, went 144th overall. We've established a couple of things. We think he has a chance to legitimately compete for the quarterback job at some point in the relative near future. We've also established we like to fit in a Kevin Stefanski-style offense. Here's the question, and Reese, you kind of got us there at the beginning of this conversation. What lessons will be learned? And will they be used effectively to turn him into the player that I think we have some level of confidence across this desk that he can become? If so, this has a legitimate chance to be and this is not hyperbole here, the best value on day 3 so far because it's the most important position in all teams.
Hit rate the last 31 years for fifth-round picks at quarterback is 0. Zero.
It's your guy, though.
Zero.
Buck the trend.
I'm saying up until now, the last 31 years, okay? Quarterbacks in the 5th round. You want the chart? Here it is, right here. I went back and looked at it.
All right, what do you got?
From 1994 to 2024, it's 31 years. What's that say?
0 for 43.
0 for 43 with a couple still to be determined.
Wow.
Spencer Rattler, one of those guys, still to be determined. Right? 1970 to 1993, hit rate in the 5th round, 19%. Right? So again, 5th round's not the round to get a quarterback. Okay? It hadn't been proven. It was going back to 1970. That's a long time, right? Shedeur Sanders, 5th round pick. We'll see if he can do something that very few have been able to do.
The aberration, though, probably with a couple of notable exceptions, 5th round or beyond, is that very few quarterbacks were evaluated like this just on the tape.
Right.
At the same level that he
That's the difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a talent issue. This isn't a can-do issue. This transcended that. And that's why I think of anybody on that list that you have of fifth round guys, none of them had the skill set that this young man had. This is not about can you play the position. This is about do we want you to play the position for us. That's what this came.
Why wouldn't they, Lou?
Well, look, that's a whole nother discussion that we've had in many different ways for weeks
I would say
and
that
months now.
This is not one of the toughest quarterbacks you've ever.
But Mel, this isn't about this isn't about quarterback traits and quarterback characteristics, personal football character. That's not about this. This is personal.
Has he had an off the field issue? No, he has not.
Mel, you don't have to sell it to me.
No, I don't know what we're talking about here.
You're right. You're right.
Yes,
you're right. But you know what? Mel, the draft has spoken.
That's the key, Mel. It's not putting a value judgment on whether those who passed were right or wrong. They did.
Yep.
So now, whenever you're in circumstances in life, whether you like them, whether you don't like them, whether they're fair or whether they're unfair, you might have to deal with them.
That's
and
right.
now Shedeur Sanders has to deal with
everything.
And for whatever reason, whether he played a minute, microscopic percentage, 0%, or it's a legitimate criticism of the way he conducted himself during the draft process, this was the result.
Yeah.
Now he has an opportunity to answer it. I think yelling at the NFL about it is not.
There's not a quarterback. Boomer Esiason was not happy when he was a second-round pick.
Tom Brady was not happy.
They dropped. How'd they turn out?
And you know what?
My point, nobody's arguing that can happen.
Race, the NFL has been clueless for 50 years when it comes to evaluating quarterback. Clueless. No idea what they're doing in terms of evaluating quarterback. That's proof. There's proof of that.
How many
times? They say we know exactly what we're talking about with quarterback. They don't.
Nobody's batted 1,000 there, though.
That's correct.
Right? I mean, I think that's
all that matters now is what happens going forward. We talk about it all the time. There is the evaluation phase, there's the evaluation and selection phase, which we're in right now, and then there's the development and implementation phase. That's where we're heading to right now. That's all that matters for him. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry,
and Lou.
Have at it.
Quarterbacks now, and Reese, you know it well as anybody, college kids now are getting paid. They're professional. They're getting paid. They're commercials. They're out there. You got to deal with that. If you're the NFL, you got to deal with that. Okay? He's saying whatever he's saying behind closed doors. What's he saying? I want to be the guy. I should be this. I should be that. Deion's saying he's the best player in the draft. He's the best quarterback. Second best to Travis Hunter. Best quarterback. Who is it? What quarterback out there didn't think they should have been a high first-round pick?
Again, nobody's criticizing what happened. We're saying he has to deal with the reality of the result from it.
All right.
That's all.
Okay.
Shedeur Sanders, everybody wishes him well.